Coming up, what can you do to improve the image and reputation of your estate agent? You're going to hear me talking to someone whose business, probably like yours, hangs on their reputation. Also, how do you survive a recession? How do you survive two? The estate agent founder we're talking to has been running their business since 1989 and knows what the tough times look like and shares some of his insights there. Finally, there are some core values that he uses when he's growing his business and hiring staff, the kind of things that he believes make a great estate agent. You'll hear that and so much more coming up.
Hi Dee, how's it going?
Yes, it's good. Hot today.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about apprentices and training programs and how you guys work a little bit at Quealy. Could you start just by talking a little bit about who you guys are, how long you've been around for, and your role in the business?
Hi, I'm Dee Quealy. We've got an estate agency business in Sittingbourne Kent. It's a business that I started 24 years ago. Quite a small business in terms of size. We haven't got any other branches, but we're quite large for the town in which we operate. We've got sales, lettings and a financial services arm to our business, and so we're able to offer a broad range of services to our customers and clients. We did suffer in the downturn when the property market dived in 2007/8, and we've been in a sort of recovery situation for a while, but there's signs of the market improving, and we're keen to expand the number of employees that we have in the business, and to use training and qualifications as an edge in competing with our competitors.
That's the 2007 thing's really interesting as well, and we'll come back on that right at the end. Just on the training front, in our pre-interview we're talking about the people that you have in as trainees and as apprentices, so people who you're currently adding more training to and people who you're bringing in new to the business. Can you talk about the current people you've got in? I think you said you had 4 people at the moment you're working with.
Yeah, we've got 4 people in training. We've got 2 employees who've been working for a while now in the lettings side of our business, and who wanted to embark on a formal training program so that they could get an industry recognised qualification, which is called an ALA qualification. And then we took on, early part of last year, a trainee valuer, and whilst he wasn't necessarily employed as an apprentice, if you like, he certainly was somebody who hadn't got any experience in the industry and wanted to go through a formal training program to be able to get to a stage where he could be classed as a valuer. And then a final person who's come into the business is actually my son. He's 19 years old and has had no work experience prior to starting with us, and he's come in as a formal apprentice on the lettings side of our business, with a view to trying to get some formal experience and training in that industry, so that he can progress his career in the future.
So that's the full range. So you've got everyone from the absolute new start to some few guys who've got a bit of experience who want to try and increase. We'll touch on the lessons learned on the front for the more experienced guys in a moment, but in terms of the apprentice, one of the things, obviously he's your son, so there's perhaps some bias there in terms of it's a much easier hire, but in terms of the things and roles that you have people of that age, you've been doing this for a while, what sort of things do you get them involved in the business? Do you see them as admin assistants, or do you see them as people who you can really actually get to add real value around the organisation?
Well, I'm a bit of a believer in you're perhaps not going to learn as much as you could do if you were kept in a corner. I think it's good that people should be put into situations where they're going to learn from those situations. So I'm always keen with employees that they should get a broad education, if you like, in the business, and to do that as quickly as possible.
And so, what sort of things have you got? Him doing?
Okay, well, Alexander, my son, he's doing everything from canvassing for new business, through to showing prospective tenants around properties, through to organising contractors to carry out repairs, and indeed actually going out on site a little bit and carrying out some basic repairs at properties as well.
Wow, so it's the full range. You've not just got them in the corner. I think a lot of people, I mean, certainly, I guess a lot of people think that when they take in an office junior, they're going to be doing photocopying and making the tea. It doesn't sound like that's the case. What are in terms of the challenges, how do you supervise to make sure, what sort of processes do you have in place to make sure that what he is doing is in line with what you want him to do? Do you have extra checks in terms of asking before contracts are signed or before things are changed that he checks with yourself or one of the other colleagues?
Well, he does actually work in a very close team, and the people around him would hear constantly what he's doing. So there isn't necessarily a formal process of him having to come to a meeting and report on his activities for the day. The team that he's working in will know exactly what he's doing at all times. So it is a very close working environment. But he does have a monthly one-to-one meeting to go over what's been happening so far and what his progression is expected to be.
So for your side, his induction is being involved in the team and seeing and doing everything. In the initial, just for that initial 4 to 6 weeks when you brought him on in December, was it yourself or were there other people supporting him? What sort of things did you put in place to do that?
Well, it wasn't myself. I put him straight into the team, and he's got a line manager, and he was being handled by that line manager and working closely with the team in the various areas that those members of the team operate in.
That makes sense. And then you've also got him doing the apprenticeship program, so he's doing the level 2 he's doing residential sales, I'm guessing?
No, lettings.
Lettings, okay. How's he getting on?
Yeah, very well. I mean, he's really risen to the challenge of not just organising things like contractors, but meeting and receiving people in the office, handling sometimes some difficult situations. You know, if you've got a tenant on the phone and their cold water tap is leaking or something, they need it sorted out quickly, and he's got to be able to handle that, to be courteous to the person on the end of the phone and make sure that he can get a contractor organised quickly.
One of the things we talked about earlier was around hiring graduates versus school leavers versus people who've been in the industry for a while. What are your experiences where you've done this for quite a while? You were mentioning how it's nice sometimes just to bring someone in who you can fit to your business, as it were, or shape to mould to how you work.
I think that's. I'm not an employer who is necessarily going to have a policy of not employing somebody who hasn't got a degree, for instance. I'm as interested in qualifications as I am experience for the personality of the individual, and you know how keen they appear to want to be in learning and getting on.
That makes sense. And in terms of the more experienced people, we were talking about them, and there's some lessons that you've picked up in terms of the different levels of qualification, and I think this is really important that people who are looking to do training internally, whether it's as an apprentice or whether it's funded training, you said that the guys who were more experienced, you had some comments around what level may or may not be appropriate.
Yes, I think all 4 individuals have come in and started on the level 2 training, and 2 of the individuals had got several years experience in the industry beforehand and wanted to get onto a formal training program so that they could get an ALA qualification. But I think given the time that they've been involved in the industry, they are probably at a level where they could have started level 3 rather than level 2. And I think it would have been good for there to have been some better assessment of that at the outset. So the level 2 qualification seems to be available across quite a range of experience and educational qualifications. So it would be good for it to be maybe considered a little bit more carefully at the outset as to whether the person was at a level where they should enter at level 2 or they could enter at a higher level.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. That's good feedback for us, but it's also good feedback for anyone who's considering as well, whether they look at level 2 and level 3 and to really think, is this person, you were mentioning, if they're not engaged, just like anything, if you're not engaged in the training, then it's going to be, you're going to fall out of love with it and not complete. If it is interesting and engaging, you're learning new things, or at least things adding some more context or some more breadth to the things you already know, it's going to be of value.
I think it would also be good for the individual for there to be an assessment of the individual at the outset to determine what length of time ought to be appropriate for that individual to do the course. And so obviously some people are going to move more quickly than others, and that may be based on experience, it may be based on educational qualifications perhaps, but I think if there was an assessment, it would mean that maybe the employee was perhaps a little bit more engaged with the course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes them, from their perspective, it gives them the opportunity to explain where they're at and agree on the outset, before they start, what their learning expectations are throughout the whole thing, rather than doing a sort of cookie cutter one-fits-all.
Yes.
That definitely makes sense. One of the things, just before we finish, that you touched on, going back to hiring and recruiting, we were talking about how you decide who to take on. What are the things that you look at? I mean, you mentioned earlier about degrees aren't important. What in your opinion makes a really great residential salesperson or a lettings person or a valuer? What are the traits and characteristics you look at beyond the educational side of things?
Well, for our industry, confidence and personality are huge qualities. One's ability to sort of project yourself and to be able to deal courteously with customers and clients is very, very important. So I look for those qualities as much as education and experience.
And are there any things that you, through your experience of recruiting, that you absolutely avoid, or red flags that you come across along the way?
No, I don't. I think that however a prospective employee presents themselves to us, whether they walk through the door of the office to hand in a CV or they send an email, that contact has to look interesting. It has to maybe look a little bit personal to the company. So rather than just what appears to be a letter that's handed through the door, that appears to be going to an impersonal individual within the company, and it's the same letter that's been sent to probably 50 or so companies, I think it would be good for employees, maybe, or prospective employees, to identify who they should be contacting and addressing their contact to that person individually. So you're trying to really look for somebody who's made that effort to make that initial contact, however it might be, and that will sort of bring out something about their personality.
So the old saying of the first 5 steps, the first 5 words, the first 5 seconds is all definitely true.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not just when it comes to looking for a job in an estate agent's office. It's with anything in life, really. Yeah,
no, that makes absolute sense. And in terms of taking on further apprentices and doing further training, is it something that you would do, having experienced this far with sort of 4 months with someone who's junior?
Yes, I am keen to do it. In our industry, I'm particularly on the letting side of things, where there's a great role for the law within that part of our business, in terms of how we operate and how we deal with tenancy agreements and etc. I think it's good for us to be able to show to prospective customers that we feel training is important and that we want to have qualified people within our business.
On that point, for the bringing on people who are with your customers and talking to them about the level of training in your organisation, is it something that you do discuss with them? Do you actually explain the sort of efforts that you go in to make sure that you've got the right level of quality for them?
Oh yeah, I think it's, we're looking to give our customers confidence that that when they're dealing with us, that we take our job seriously and we want to do it well, and that all the time we've got a training program in place. We're more likely than perhaps some of our competitors to be doing that job well.
That makes perfect sense. And just the last thing here was you mentioned right at the top of the interview about, I think it was in 2007, about the recession and recovering. What are the things that you've been doing within the organisation, within employees and training, and to keep yourself above the water through that time? And now, as we're we're still in the middle area, I guess, but we're slowly getting out of the recession. What are the things that you guys have been doing to help keep that going? Because it's very good. 19 years is a very good amount of time in business. Oh no, sorry, 27 years.
24, yeah.
24 years.
Yeah. Well, I think in order for us to compete in our marketplace, we've got to set ourselves apart. We've got to be seen to be offering a good customer service, and through training that we're able to give our staff, and we're able to then convey that to prospective customers, that we feel not only is it important, but it will impact on the service that they're going to get from us.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Awesome. I think that's all we've really got time for. I don't want to take up any much more of your time. But thanks so much for sharing this with us and with everyone else who watches this. And I'm sure we'll be back in contact at some point soon.
Okay, all right, good.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Dee.
Okay, thanks then. All the best.